Welcome to Upticks. I'm Jake Falcon, the founder of Falcon Wealth Advisors and your host of Upticks. Today is episode 132, Retirement Saving versus Retirement Spending. Okay, welcome back to the show. I hope all of you out there are staying safe and healthy during this horrible pandemic. For today's topic, I wanted to talk about two different financial topics, but they also have to do a lot with psychology, right? And so if anybody knows me, I've, recently read that really good book, The Psychology of Money, and also with the dozens and dozens of conversations I've been having with clients lately and the hundreds of clients our team has helped retire successfully, we've had a lot of conversations about that transition from saving to spending in retirement, which is very difficult for a lot of people from an emotional and psychological standpoint. So let's dive right into it. So when I talk about retirement savings, for some people, that's very easy to conceptualize, and other people, it's actually very hard or very difficult to do, right? Just because of their circumstance. Retirement saving, though, really comes down to math. You take how much you can budget or afford to put into your 401k, an IRA, a Roth IRA, savings account. You assume a target rate of return, which is what we do for our clients. We'll use math and historical, which again is no guarantee, but we'll use a historical benchmark to determine what our projected future return is. And then we compound that, right? And if you're 20, 30, 40, 50 years old, we see how much you're saving, how much you already have saved. And then we extrapolate that out until your retirement day. So for retirement savings, all it really takes is understanding the math. That's why you hire us at Falcon Wealth Advisors. And then also having the discipline, which is the hardest part, in my opinion, to continue to save, right? And then just let compounding take over, right? Typically, the earlier you start, the better. But if you're in your 40s and 50s and you feel like you're a little bit behind, that's okay too. We could just make the adjustments and figure out what we need to do to get you caught back up so that you can retire with confidence. All right. So retirement savings, again, I still think it pays to work with a competent financial advisor that can project these numbers for you, certainly help you invest the money to get those target returns. Again, there's no guarantee. And then you have to do the tough part, which is discipline, right? And adding everything up and making sure that you're saving appropriately. I don't think there's any general rule, though. Some people save 10% of their income, some save 20, some save 40, right? I think that's going to be specific on your situation. But ultimately, we'll be able to show you by saving more or less, by earning more or less, what does that look like? And by the tax situation, about if you use a 401k or a Roth, what does that do to it? Or you just save in a regular savings account or brokerage account, what does that do, right? So we can show you all those different scenarios and let you look and see where you're tracking. And then the most important thing is you don't do this as a one-time exercise, that you update this plan, at least once a year, ideally twice a year. But, again, that way you're making sure that everything's tracking and you make adjustments as you go. Now, what'll happen many times in my office or via Zoom now is that we will, get a client to retirement, right? And they've got $1, $2, $3, $5 million, 500,000, whatever it is, right? They're there. And then we project out the next 30, 40 years and say, okay, as long as we, keep making or earn a return of 6, 7, 8%, whatever their target is, that you're going to be fine. And you can actually start spending your nest egg. And this is the difficult part for a lot of people, this transition. This is where I spend a lot of my conversations with people approaching retirement or newly in retirement. A best case scenario for this, which I love to show people, is that with our investment portfolio, our performance reporting software will show you a projected income. So a simplest way to do it is say, okay, if you're getting Social Security or you get a pension, some people may or may not, and then we've got your projected income. And what that is that's a summation of dividends from individual stocks we buy and interest payments from bonds, right? So we add all of that up. And if that projected income coupled with your pension and Social Security or part-time earnings or whatever else you got going on, or rental income or whatever, if that's going to be able to sustain your lifestyle, then you don't have to worry about market growth or anything. You just have to worry about these companies paying their dividends, which is a whole nother topic for another show, and the bonds paying their interest. right? Which again is another topic, but that gives people a lot of comfort because they see that. Again, there's no guarantee with that. So that's why it's so important that we meet regularly with our clients and we're very proactive in setting up those meetings and making sure that we're all on the same page. Now, that isn't the case for everybody. I'd say it's probably about a third of my clients that works out that way. For another set of clients, they need a combination of growth and income, which is very normal. Again, it's probably another third of our clients. So what that looks like is like, okay, this is your income, but we also need to get some growth so that we can keep up with inflation and make sure that you're not depleting your nest egg, right? So again, we'll show them the income summary and say, okay, you're going to get X amount in income. We need to get X amount in growth on top of that. Then you're getting Social Security and pension and anything else. We add all that together. Let's look at that projection. All right, and then the last one, again, not horrible. Sometimes we'll see our clients slowly starting to spend down their nest egg. So that means their income and the growth is not enough to keep up with what they're currently spending. So in many circumstances, we will start to ratchet down their spending as they get older. The reality, as we get older, we run out of energy, our energy starts to run lower, and we don't have these grand ambitions of going and traveling the world or buying new vehicles or whatever it may be. Our kids are maybe grown and gone and less reliant on us financially speaking. And so that's something, again, another conversation we have. Not a bad one, it's just different, right? So we've got all these different clients and all these different categories, and then we have the conversation. What's fascinating to me, though, this is very interesting to me, is that clients that have historically been savers, right? Meaning they've saved, they've lived, typically below their, income. So they typically don't have credit card debt, no debt a lot of times, they've got a lot saved. Even when they transition into retirement, they have a hard time spending. They still want to save. And I'm not saying that's wrong. I just think it's fascinating because this transition's happened where you don't need to save anymore. You've already done that. Your investments now are earning you the interest that you need to live on. You don't need to save as much. I'm not saying that you need to go out there and start flying around on private jets, but you don't need to be maybe as fiscally responsible or maybe as frugal as you were because you already have your emergency fund. You have your nest egg. It's there. It's diversified. It's invested. But that psychology doesn't change for those people. And then also people that maybe spent a little bit too much, right? They lived over, maybe they ran a little bit of credit card debt. They still have some loans out there. They have enough money to retire, but they've always spent a little bit more. They typically spend a little bit more in retirement, right? So it's interesting to me is that, I guess my point of today's show is that, savings takes discipline and time, spending, same thing, takes discipline and time. Maybe sometimes if you're, you can change your mentality and say, okay, Jake says I've always been a saver. He's run over the financial plan with me a ton. He says I can afford to buy that new boat or do some home remodeling. You know what? We're going to go ahead and do it. And the most important thing is we want to review that with your financial plan and make sure you have confidence to do those things. You worked hard for this money. We certainly want you to be inspired to spend some of it on things that you're going to enjoy or make your life more satisfying. And if you're overspending, right, that's okay too. We'll just continue to kind of rein it in and step it down over time and have conversations about that as well. Say, look, I get it. You're in your 60s. You don't want to have $5 million when you're 90 and not be able to do anything in your 60s. I completely, understand that. I've had tons of conversations like that. So for those clients who say, okay, let's spend our retirement up front here, knowing in our 70s and 80s, we're going to start knocking it down a little bit. And that's completely fine as well. Again, it's about having discipline and having a plan. That's really what it boils down to. So good. So I hope you found some use out of my show today. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you could hit that subscribe button, I'm very humbled. Our subscriber count continues to grow. You can find me out there on 4 social media platforms. So I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Please send me a friend request. I love expanding my network. Our team, Falcon Wealth Advisors, is also out there on those 4 social media platforms. So our team, Falcon Wealth Advisors, is on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Give us a follow. Again, we're out there pushing out our content. And then a quick shout out to Corey Bittner, my business partner. He's got a great show out there on our YouTube channel and out there in podcast land called In the Money Insight. So if you want to hear more great content from your friends at Falcon Wealthers, check him out. Subscribe to his channel as well. As far as fun topics, as I'm filming this in my office this morning, Kansas City is slowly starting to thaw out. So I'm really excited. Hopefully spring is right around the corner. Rich and I did finish the home improvement project. So we'll put some Pictures up here of that came out really, really nice. Waiting on furniture, waiting on some art, and the Augusta room is coming together nicely. She doesn't love the name, but I'm sticking with it. I'm sticking to my guns on this. She can decorate it. I get to name it. That's kind of our deal. I don't think she's going to call it that, but I'll certainly keep calling it the Augusta room. So with that, that's all the time that I do have for you today. Again, like I said, I hope all of you out there are staying safe and healthy, and have a great week.